Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
Welcome to this week's MMA Mental podcast. My name is Ray. As always, we're sponsored by UK Fightwear and proud to be associated with MMA Invicta Radio, which is just launched a couple of weeks ago, but we're very excited for the future of MMA Invicta. We've got two guests lined up for today's show, two interviews that we've done earlier on in this week. We should have had another one that fell through, which I'm going to try and arrange for next week, but I'll give more details of that at the end of the show. But before we let you know about the interviews, obviously just let you know to check out MMA Invicta Radio with the other shows. On a Monday we've got the Early Stoppage podcast, which is hosted by Jay Jeans. One of today's interviews was actually done by Jay Jeans, which is on the show. Tuesday we've got the Aunt Jimmy show hosted by Ramses and coach Jamie Huey from Team Darkside, and we already know that he's got one listener and one fan, which is the man himself, Charles Sonnen. So if it's good enough for Charles to listen to, I think it's good enough for anyone else to check it out. Then we've got the MMA podcast on a Wednesday, which is hosted by Jake and Chris. The MMA Roundtable on a Thursday, which is all the shows come together, and of course MMA Mental podcast on a Friday. Also, we're going to be starting a new competition soon on MMA Invicta, which I think is going to be worth checking out. It won't start from this weekend's UFC 159, but it will start from the next one. It's a $10 buy-in and a chance for you to win a pair of UFC tickets to an event of your choice. And obviously, the more people that enter, the more tickets we'll give away. So it will be one pair to the top prize, and then for the top person, and then if we get up to 200 people, we'll give out two, and then any extra 100 people after that, we'll give out an extra pair. So in effect, if there's 500 playing, the top five will get a pair of UFC tickets to an event of their choice. Okay, let's go on. Going back to this week's show, then we've got, like I said, we've got two interviews lined up. So the first interview we've got is Joanne Calderwood. Joanne recently won at Cage Warriors. She's also recently signed a deal with Invicta FC. That interview was done by Jay. They talk about what's going on with Joanne's career, because she's obviously riding a real storm at the moment, doing really, really well. The prospect of getting 115 in the UFC, which, you know, I'm sure further down the line that's something that's going to happen, and just women's MMA in general, which is always good to get information on women's MMA from the outlook of someone who's obviously so heavily involved with women's MMA, especially when it's one of the fighters. And our second interview was done by myself and Patrick. And that was we go back to the old days. We've been able to get on Pride FC and UFC veteran from way back in the day, Enson Inoue, a fantastic guy to chat with. It was a really fun interview to do. He talks about all sorts. His start out in the sport, fighting for the Japanese fans, the way the Japanese fans were towards him, and the way they enjoyed his kind of never give up attitude, win or lose regardless. He left everything out there. He gives his views on what he'd like to see changed these days in modern MMA. He talks about his fight with Randy Couture, who's one of the guys to beat Randy Couture way back when Randy Couture was just starting out. And he also tells us a really good story about how he discovered the kid, Norifuma Yamamoto, and how he got his start in MMA. So hopefully you'll enjoy both of these interviews.
Hi guys, it's Jay from MMA Mental's Early Stoppage. I am here today with Joe Calderwood. Thank you so much for your time, Joe. Before I get into all that news that you've been in, how are you? Is everything okay up in Scotland?
Yeah, it's brilliant up here apart from the weather.
Yeah.
All the shitty Scottish weather, but
I mean,
we're getting there.
We had snow a couple of weeks, but over the April. But has it been snowing up there?
No, we had it at the same kind of time the week before you guys had it, but it's just kind of like we get the sun for a few days and then think, yeah, that's the summer here, and then the next day it's raining.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I take it it's not coming in.
We've got the exact same thing over here. I guess it's countrywide. But speaking about a couple of weeks ago, I mean, you had that fight with Sally Crumdiak up in Scotland. On paper, this was going to be a good fight, but you beat her without even breaking a sweat. Did you expect to get the victory so easily?
I was just expecting that I was going to get in there, get the win, whether it was like in the first round, second round, third round, because like I always look at fights, you just don't know what's going to happen, so you kind of have to expect everything. You have to expect you winning by submission, winning by TKO, winning by points, a hard fight, an easy fight. But I definitely didn't think it would. I've kind of seen it more when I was thinking about it and stuff. I've seen it more going to a fight, like maybe a decision.
Yes. I think when you look at both of your records on paper, she had never been finished, but you finished her within the first round. Just how hard were those uppercuts? It looked like you didn't even hit her with your strongest shot.
Yeah, and I was on the back foot as well, which is pretty cool. I think she's been stopped. She's been TKO'd once before. So yeah, it's always good, because if you do look at her record and stuff, and not even her record, the people that she's been in with, is pretty impressive.
She's well, you're only what, 6-0 now, and she's fought a lot. I think that was her 14th or 15th fight. So
yeah, she
is more experienced. But man, you made it look like you were the professional going into that one.
Yeah, I just like everything I'm doing is like I'm training like this is my job. Like I'm taking this very serious, and I just think that I need to show that when I'm in the cage.
Well, you've been in the media on the MMA sites a lot in the last month or so, as you extended the first piece of news anyway is that you extended your contract. You're now on a 6-fight contract with Invicta, and that is just incredible. How are you feeling with the organisation?
Oh, it's awesome. Like when they asked me, like I had still had another fight with them anyway, because I had signed a free fight deal with them. But then they asked me if they said that they wanted to extend the contract, and like obviously I was over the moon, because my first 2 experience with them, it's just been really, really like a great organisation, and they're doing awesome things for us. And the other thing is that outside of Invicta, like there's been a few promotions trying to fight, and they've struggled to get in a fight, and I was quite lucky with Cage Warriors and finding Sally and her agreeing to it and stuff. But with Invicta, they've got a lot of 115ers, so I'm always going to get a fight there, because they've got the other 115s and they're contracted to Invicta, so like I'll always have a fight at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, their organisation is going very strongly. As you mentioned, opponents and contracts and everything. The other big news story, I think it was this week, is that you will be fighting the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt Claudia Galdea in July. What was your initial reaction to that fight?
My manager, we've got a few names like in the run up to my last fight for Cage Warriors, but like I wasn't seeing past Sally. So once that fight was finished, and then I think it was the Monday or the Tuesday, my manager James told me that this is your opponent, and once we got the contract signed and stuff, I'm just pleased to fight anyone really, like whether it's a Brazilian black belt, whether it's a stand-up girl, or whether it's the best MMA fighter in the world. Like I'm just glad to have my next fight confirmed, so that now that after like I've fought Sally and stuff, now I'll be focusing on that. So I'm looking forward to the fight, and it'll be a new, like she's a different fighter to the rest of the girls that I've fought, so I'm looking forward to facing a new challenge.
It should be a good fun fight. She's undefeated like yourself, which makes for it very interesting. Are you prepared for a grappling based match then, or are you gonna? How do you see the fight going?
I've not really thought about the fight so far, but like I'm happy on the ground as well. Like just I've not really been able to showcase that yet, but whether it's this fight or in future, then I'll definitely be ready to showcase that I've got jiu-jitsu skills, and like I'm not like I'm not going into any of these MMA fights just on my strength of stand up. Like I'm well rounded.
Well, you've shown it in multiple of your fights as well, and you've just been very exciting to watch, as we said earlier, with your last fight where you showed your technical striking. You didn't even need the power, but women's MMA is advancing very, very quickly with the UFC. We heard from Dana that he's going to he's interested in extending the women's divisions. My favourite division is the strawweight division with yourself, Jessica Aguilar. However, I feel your division is reliant on the success of the 125-pound division, the flyweights, as I feel the UFC wouldn't just skip one weight class. So what's your feelings on the future of your division? Do you feel that the 125 division has to stack up before the strawweight division can progress?
Yeah, because if you look at the number of girls that are in the 125 and then compared to the 115, it just depends what like the UFC, like I don't think that they don't have to go straight to 125. They could do the 115. But I don't know how they'll play it. But right now, I'm just like focusing on being at Invicta and enjoying my experience there. And if UFC does come along, then obviously it would be a great opportunity for myself and my gym. But I don't know like whether they will come straight down to 115, but I would say I've still got another decade in me at least. So if it doesn't come around for a few years, I think I'll still be about.
Yeah, I mean it's all expanded very quickly as well, and of course you've only been fighting for 3 years. You're only 26. Your career has still got a long way to go. But do you know of any girls that you know who are bulking up or trying to get into the higher weight class divisions? Do you know of anybody yourself?
Yeah, I was actually training with Rosie Sexton on Friday night. I was down in Liverpool training next gen with her because I was down for a wedding, and sometimes Rosie comes up she's got a good relationship with the Dinky Ninja fight team, so I get to train a lot with Rosie. So I was down on Friday, and obviously she's got her fight coming up in 8 weeks, and she's usually fighting at 125, and she's went up to 135 for this fight at the UFC. So, but like a few people have said to me, "Oh, why do you not go up and stuff?" But that's like I don't even walk around about that.
Yeah.
About 135. So it would be no. Like I would rather go on. I'm a great believer in like what's for you won't go by you. So obviously it would be silly for me to go in with these American girls that are like cutting £10 on the day, whereas I would be like trying to put on £10 that day on the weekend day. So it would be pretty silly.
You'd have to put like stones in your pockets and stuff like that. Go out there soaking wet with a brick in your pocket, something like that. But Rosie Sexton, yeah, you mentioned her. Well, especially for Britain, she is also one of the best 125 definitely 125 women. She's incredible. What's your feelings about Rosie Sexton? You've trained with her yourself. What's your thoughts on her?
I think she's a great person and a great fighter, and I think that because she's been around for like since it kind of started, and I feel sorry for her that she started in the MMA world like back when she did, because if like you see how like women that's got more popular and stuff, whereas when she was starting off it was like she was having to fight above her weight and like fight maybe like once a year and stuff, and I would hate that. And I feel terrible that she had to kind of start off like that, whereas like I've come in and like my first year I got to fight 5 times, and just that I think so glad that she's got the opportunity to fight at UFC, and I think she'll have a great time, and it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I mean that's the one advantage that she's coming now into the peak of her career, and she might end up fighting for a championship and things, and so she's kind of the other end of the spectrum, and it's interesting to see that. How often have you trained with her?
I've probably had about maybe 7 sessions with her.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's good to know that you're getting the training in with, probably the only girl in Britain that's better than you're getting to train with. So
yeah, it is awesome, and because I'm always coming up against the better wrestler and the better grappler, and then Rosie's sometimes facing a good striker, so it's kind of worked out well that I can get to spar with someone that's an awesome wrestler and great on the ground, and then vice versa. She can use my striking and we can kind of it works out well. It works out well.
Yeah, the steel. I think it's steel on steel. I can't remember. It's steel's sharpened steel. I think it's that. But there is one topic I've got to talk to you about since I got the opportunity. I felt so ashamed when not only did I saw it, but when I heard it. That was when Miesha Tate came out at the last fight and she had a boob job. I thought that was a disgrace to not just women's MMA, but to MMA, as we still get things like ring girls, and that's very sexist and things. She felt the need to make her sex appeal more attractive with a boob job. Did you hear about this? What was your opinion?
No, this is the first time I've heard about it, but to be honest, I don't really keep up to date with other fighters or kind of read up in the news and stuff, but that's pretty funny.
I was just no.
I see that. Sorry.
You go.
I see these girls that my opponent. The guys were saying that they googled her and the images are coming up with her in a bikini and stuff, and I've seen other girl fighters doing it and stuff, and I just don't see the need for it, really.
Me neither. Like I said, I thought I was ashamed of the fact that they're trying to please someone, but I wouldn't ever see. I think it's harmful for the weight class, and it's harmful for the sport. I mean, you've got extra weight hanging off you. You wouldn't see that ever happen in the men's division. You wouldn't see them, giving themselves a fake six-pack. So why the women feel to do it? It was.
Yeah, unless it's just something that she's how some girls just want to get a boob job. So I don't know. Maybe this has just been her thing that she's wanted, but it's crazy.
It is crazy. But something else that's quite interesting about your career is that I know that you've been fighting out of Kansas because it's in it for Invicta. Glasgow will always be your home. I mean, you fought in India, Kansas, and Glasgow in MMA. For Muay Thai, correct me if I'm wrong, but you fought in places like Poland and Thailand. Where does Kansas rank?
Kansas is awesome. It's pretty quiet. I was quite shocked when I got there because it's loads of buildings and massive buildings, and then there's not a lot of people. But then if you go out on a Saturday night, it's crazy busy. But I like how it's quiet, and when we went, it was pretty cold. So I've heard in July it's really hot. Apparently you can fry an egg on the street, so I'm looking forward to going back when it's warm. Because obviously when we were there was a wee bit of snow and stuff, but we're used to that anyway. But it'll be good to go to Kansas and be warm and stuff. So, but as a town and stuff, I think it's awesome, and everything that you need for when you go away. because sometimes when you go away if you're fighting and stuff after a weigh-in and stuff, it's really hard to find somewhere good to eat, and usually it's all like fast food places. So in Kansas there's like a really good kind of Whole Foods place that now that we've been there and stuff, we know it like off by heart, and we're always going there, and it's just really handy for after your weigh-ins and stuff. But when I go away and stuff, it's just really, I just have my sleeping bag, and anywhere I could sleep anywhere as long as I've got my sleeping bag. It doesn't really matter. But Kansas is pretty cool.
Sounds brilliant. I've got to ask, what were places like, when you mentioned the food, what were India and Thailand like to try and get food after the fight? Even Poland, that might have been quite difficult.
Thailand and India was actually pretty good because we were in a hotel that we were in the Hilton, and we didn't really go out. They had put on the food. It was like a kind of restaurant in the hotel. So, but everybody said, "Oh, you'll get the Delhi belly and stuff," because we were going to New Delhi. But if you're smart with your food and stuff, and obviously I wasn't caring after my fight, but I took a lot of my stuff with me that I knew I wouldn't be able to get over in India and Thailand. So if you're smart and stuff and you're prepared, it's pretty easy.
Well, yeah, it does. It must be quite difficult, especially in America. I mean, after the fight, you can go to every fast food place you can see, but before a fight, it must be difficult. But I was quite surprised by the India. I think I don't know how, because there's of course the language barrier, but I guess if you're at the Hilton, it's all good.
Actually, between compared to Thailand, like India, their second language is English, so it was actually easier in India than Thailand, because Thailand's pretty the Thai language is. Have you ever heard that? It's like so hard to learn. Like a few of the guys that I went with, they were learning Thai and stuff, and I struggle with my language. As you probably can tell with this interview and stuff, and my other interviews that I've done. So it's pretty mad. But yeah, so India, their second language is English, so it was easier communicating with them and stuff. So if you needed to explain like that you're on a diet and stuff, which in America they just don't understand, like that you can't have any extra butter, or you can't take sugar, you can't take cream, stuff. They look at you as if you're crazy.
I will ask this one last question before I go. I've got to ask it because you've brought up languages and everything. How have the Americans reacted to your Scottish accent? Have you had any funny stories or anything?
Turns out like everyone I speak to in America has got someone that's in the family Scottish or Irish, and they always like their language and stuff. And whenever even if you're in the lift and stuff and you're speaking to whoever you're with or that, they always go, "Oh, you're from Ireland? No. Are you from England? No. Oh, where are you from?" And then you have to explain Scotland, and then they're like, "Oh, I love your accent," and then they'll say, "Oh, my great granny or whatever is from Scotland or Ireland or whatever." It's pretty funny.
I guess that's because of the Irish immigrants and all that back in the days.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you've got the fight coming up on July the 13th in Kansas. The card is headlined by Coonan versus Cyborg. You're fighting Claudia Galdea. Have you got? I know that people can get you on the Twitter and things. Have you got anybody you'd like to thank? Tell people your Twitter handle. I know you've got a Facebook page. Just this is your chance to give as many shout-outs as you can. Go for it.
You can get me on Facebook or at Jojo Calderwood. I'm currently looking for some new sponsorships for my next 6 fights at Invicta. It's a really good opportunity for companies, especially companies out in America, but there's like 2 million people that watch the stream, and it's streamed live, so get on the JoJo bandwagon and help me out.
Well,
thanks for the interview.
it's no problem at all on my behalf. If you continue fighting in Invicta, I have no doubt that you're gonna make that 12-0. So I hope you can get some sponsors, because it really is a fantastic opportunity for all of them. But thank you very much for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It's okay. I think your Twitter handle is something like @badmofo.
Badmofo _JoJo.
That's the one.
Or underline, yeah.
I will tweet you out this link as soon as it's up. But thank you very much, and hopefully once you've beaten some people in Kansas, we can get you back on.
Yeah, that would be great.
Brilliant. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Right, we're now joined by a true MMA veteran and true MMA pioneer, fought in the UFC and Pride Fighting Championship right back in the day, Enson Inoue. I know we tried to get Enson on quite a while ago, so it's great to finally get you on. Thank you for joining us today, Enson.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Right, let's go back. I'd like to go back to the beginning, because I remember when I first started following the sport, and obviously you were one of the early kind of standouts for me with your debut in UFC, but more with what you did in Pride. So I'd like to find out what made you want to get into the sport, because obviously at that time it wasn't established at all. So what made you want to do mixed martial arts?
Well, I was already doing a lot of martial arts training for the streets in Hawaii, because in Hawaii we get into a lot of street fights. So I was actually training just for that. I got into the ring, eventually decided to get into the ring because I wanted to test myself in a situation where you had to control your nerves. And I played racquetball, I played baseball, I played sports, but I thought a hand-to-hand, man-to-man combat situation, one-on-one would be the ultimate test of controlling your emotions and your nerves.
Now, obviously, you obviously fought before you fought in UFC, but if I'm honest, the first time I saw you was at UFC 13, and you were facing a guy who was being touted quite a bit, because he obviously had a wrestling base, and I believe, going on memory, he was training with one of the big wrestlers around at the time. But I mean, you literally come in and beat him very easily. Was you surprised at how, not the fact you beat him, obviously, because I'm sure you going in were always going to be confident you were going to win, but were you surprised at how easy you won?
Well, the thing is with that is, I know there's a big hype about him because also Mark Coleman was in his corner, but the reason why I wasn't really surprised about how basic it was to beat him was because I always believed that at that time, wrestlers didn't understand the ground, and they are such confident people, wrestlers, that they really didn't think that jiu-jitsu was any danger, and I felt that it was still a time where wrestlers was taking it for granted, the jiu-jitsu technique. So I felt wrestlers were very susceptible to arm bars, and arm bars was my patent move.
Yeah, and that's exactly, of course, what you got with. If I remember rightly, you went belly down as well, and you got that arm bar in. Now, obviously, that was part of a 4-man tournament, but you didn't continue to the final. And, of course, there's a lot of stuff that went on back in those days that people obviously don't know about. What was the reason that you didn't go to the final? Because you didn't look like you got any injuries during your first fight.
Well, yeah, I don't remember really getting hit. I guess I must have got hit in the face a little bit, but I felt fine. Went back to the locker room after the fight. My brother Egan was helping me, relax, massage me for the next fight to relax, and then I made the MMA 101 I broke the worst rule. Most basic rule they have is not to blow your nose after a fight. And I blew my nose, and apparently I had a hairline fracture on my cheekbone, and my eye filled up with air, and they called the doctor in, and they refused to let me fight.
Oh, wow. You know what? I never knew that. And I always wondered why you didn't fight, because, of course, your replacement obviously went on to be, also went on to be one of the biggest names in the sport, because obviously you were replaced by Tito Ortiz, and he went on to face Guy Mezger. But I think yourself versus Guy Mezger would have been a very interesting matchup, because he was coming from one of the top camps at the time with the Lions Den. He had a very, very good stand-up game, but not necessarily a great ground game, obviously, which is what your strength was. I think it would have been a very interesting matchup, you and Guy Mezger.
It would have been. It would have been. He had a really rough one with the judo guy the round before, so I thought I had the upper hand, so I was kind of excited about the fight.
Yeah, I remember that fight. He went the distance with the judo guy, a guy called Christoph Leninger, and he went the distance with him. It was a real. I mean, he was always going to win the fight. He never looked in danger, but he made hard work of the fight. And obviously, on a night where you were supposed to fight twice, it probably didn't go as well as what he hoped.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the other things, of course, that you're famed for before the Pride Fighting Championship was you faced probably one of the biggest legends in the sport, a man who went on to be one of the biggest legends in the sport, which was Randy Couture. And of course, you beat Randy Couture in Valley Judo by submission armbar. How did that fight kind of play out? And obviously, at the time, Randy Couture wasn't established then as what he is now, of course. But what was it like facing Randy Couture?
Well, I knew he was a really smart, and I knew he wasn't going to really make any stupid mistakes. So I had just one game plan because he was pretty well rounded. I know his standing wasn't as good as his Greco-Roman. His ground was questionable, but I didn't want to try and force it to the ground because I knew his wrestling was really good. So my whole game plan was just to take it to him, come forward, aggress him no matter what position I'm in, and just so happened things just fell my way that night.
Now, of course, also, actually, your very next fight, I'm going on your resume, was in Pride Fighting Championship. But not just you, of course, fought in Pride. Your brother fought in Pride as well, Egan. What was it like having you and your brother both fighting in the same promotion at the same time?
It was a little hard because we're always in each other's corners, and we always watch over each other for the fight. So it was hard when we both had to kind of try and think of each other and still prepare for ours. It was really different, It was an experience, and I kind of didn't like it that much. I wanted to either be him or me,
Yeah, so you could either focus on him or he could help you focus on you. Now,
yeah, exactly.
You did fight in Pride and you fought a few times, but pretty much, you basically faced the biggest names in Pride at that time. I mean, you faced Mark Kerr, Igor Vevchanchyn, Heath Herring, Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. I mean, they're four of the biggest names, especially in that era. What was it like being part of the Pride Fighting Championship and with what that went on to become at one time it was considered bigger than the UFC. What was it like being part of that?
It was awesome. The promotion. I heard a lot of American fighters were being, kind of bullied around by the Pride Association, but I got treated with a lot of respect. I was treated like a king. Fight money was good. Whenever I would fight, they never told me who I had to fight. They gave me a list of opponents to choose from, and I was treated really good. I mean, they never dicked me around at all.
Do you think that they obviously liked you as well because of your kind of, you always in a fight you're always aggressive, because you obviously get a lot of fighters that are sometimes submissive, and especially in Japan they never really look, and we spoke to a few guys that have fought in Japan, they all say the same. They don't really look at whether you win or lose. What they look at is whether is the performance you put on in the fight. They'd rather see you lose an exciting fight than win a boring fight. And obviously, I mean, your fights were all, full on, you giving it out and then obviously taking it as well. Do you think that's why you had such a good relationship with the fans and the promotion?
Yeah, they're pretty appreciated that that you give it all, put it all in the ring, leave it all in the ring, balls out from the beginning, gone. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. They really liked the way I fought, win or lose, I put on a show, and two, I guess they also knew that I lived in Japan, I spoke Japanese. All in all, Pride treated me very well.
Now, one of the things that I noticed when I was researching as well was that you took a young man under your wing and you helped train him for MMA, and then he then has gone on to be one of the biggest legends in the smaller weight classes, which was Norifuma Yamamoto, or as everyone knows him, the Kid. What did you see in him, and how did that come about? First of all, that you were training with him, and did you kind of know what he could go on to be?
First thing was he started training because I was dating his sister at the time, which became my first wife, but I was dating her at the time, and he had a big a problem with the Yakuza in his college. He was in the town and he was fooling around with an air pistol, and he the air pistols in Japan isn't the real dangerous ones that penetrate skin in the U.S., but it's regular. It hurts, and he shot a Yakuza guy in the face. The guy took down his license plate number, went to his school, chased him around, tried to get him. He had to jump off a third-story balcony to get away. Gave me a call, and because I'm a fighter, and I guess the style of fighting that I have a lot of fans and a lot of backing friends that are part of that world. And I made some calls and took care of it. And what happened after that is he got banned from wrestling for a year because of that incident. And I just suggested that, hey, why don't you come to my gym, do some jiu-jitsu, do some MMA, and, keep your body moving. And when the wrestling ban is up, you can go back to wrestling. And he did. He was very talented. He picked up the stuff really fast. When they're first sparring in jiu-jitsu, most people, when they get into jiu-jitsu and they don't know the technique, they get submitted left and right. But with just his natural ability with his wrestling, he was avoiding a lot of submissions, and it was kind of impressive. And I kind of felt that, he would become a big star. I didn't know he was going to become as big and as fast as a star that he became, but I knew he had the potential.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, people were raving about him for years, and he's gone on and was definitely one of the biggest names to come out of JAMA, as they say, Japanese mixed martial arts, in recent history. Now, I know Patrick's eager to jump in and ask you a few questions. Are you good to go, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm ready to go, Ray, and thanks again for your time. We really appreciate having you on.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So I want to go back a little bit in your career as well. You beat Joe Estes to win the Shooto Light Heavyweight Championship, and you have also avenged your first career loss in doing so. If you could, tell us a little bit about that moment and what that meant to you.
Yeah, the first time I lost to Joe, it was very discouraging for me because I didn't feel he had as good technique than me, but he got into my guard and he basically defended my attack and kept me under him for the whole fight to win a decision. And it was frustrating for me because I felt I was too small, because it actually wasn't the light heavyweight, it was a heavyweight, so it was an unlimited division. Joe was outweighing me by 30 kilos, and
oh wow.
At the time I fought unlimited because I wanted no excuses in the ring. If you fight the lightweight, you beat a lightweight, you win the lightweight title, and then they say, okay, but there's no way you're going to beat a middleweight or a heavyweight. So I didn't want no excuses. I wanted to fight the best, and that's the reason why I went to heavyweights. And I never had problems with power until Joe. And I realized I had to put on some weight. I had to change my game plan. I couldn't play a jiu-jitsu game and just lay on the bottom and get submissions, So it was a big wake-up call for me in the first fight. And in the second fight, it was exciting for me because I put on a little bit of weight, and I had a more aggressive game plan. And I felt that, this is time I've made some changes to become a better fighter, and outcome went really well.
Very cool. That's always good to make those adjustments and to see it pay off. Now, when watching a mixed martial arts fight, especially one being fought on the ground, a Japanese crowd would more likely either be silent or they'll be cheering at the transitions. If someone passes from the full guard to half guard, they'll get a round of applause. Yet sometimes fans from other countries would just boo the same match. Why do you think that is?
It's just education of the techniques. That's all it is. People that don't understand the real nitty-gritty details of each technique and each movement of the hips and of the passing the guard. They don't appreciate. So it's just not a matter of intelligence, or it's not a matter of being bad or good fans. It's just a matter of being educated on the techniques. That's all it is.
That definitely makes a lot of sense. Now, your last fight was in 2010. You were victorious in that fight. Prior to that, you hadn't fought since 2004. What do you like about where mixed martial arts is at now? And is there anything you wish that was still incorporated to MMA today that perhaps is not?
Okay, well, for the first part of the question, I love the fact that MMA is one of the best fastest, most exciting sports in the world today. You know, I mean, that's my base. That's where I made my name. Although I am retired, just MMA getting bigger is just helping my name getting bigger without even having to fight anymore. So the first part of that question about what I think MMA is doing today is awesome. I love what it's doing today. The second part of the question, what was the second part? What I wished it had in it, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, the only thing is it's a real hard question to answer because I'll sound hypocritical because one, I love where it's come. I love how big it's become. And the thing that I wish wasn't changed is something that would affect how big it is. You know, I don't like the early stoppages. I don't like how fast they call fights. A guy gets in the ring, and if he's not tapping, I don't think they should stop fights. But it's hypocritical because if I wanted that rule incorporated, not many sponsors would be able to take it. Television would back away from it. You know, the growth of the sport would stop. So I really, the reason why I don't like what the fast stoppages because martial arts is not a sport. It's a sport of combat where, I mean, you know, it's a sport, but the object of the whole sport is to subdue your opponent, to hurt your opponent. I mean, there's no other sport in the world like that. I mean, if you look at basketball, yeah, there's a lot of elbows and stuff, but the object as you're elbowing your opponent is to get the ball in the hoop. Football is rough, but the object is to get the ball across the line. Mixed martial arts or any type of martial arts is to knock your opponent out. I mean, as much as they want to call it a sport, it's not really a sport, and you look at it. So the reason why I don't like the rule of stopping fights early is because in this sport that we have, you have a lot of people like so-called samurais are in it, and the beauty of the martial art is not the wins and the losses. I mean, the KOs are spectacular, but that's not the things that you remember so much. You know, you remember the ones where the heart takes over. You know, where you got these battles that go in there, like Silva Stan when they fought in a Pride just recently. You know how they dropped each other, but they still toe to toe.
Yeah,
gapped out, can't even stand up, but he throws a punch that knocks this guy out. You know what I mean? These are the places where a lot of mixed martial arts are being stopped, is right where the heart's going to take over. You know, you got guys on the mount, and, you know, I mean, Igor Vovchanchin, that was the best fight of my life. You know, I learned a lot about myself. I learned about my heart. But in this day, today, if that fight took place, that would not have gone that far. They would have stopped it early, and all the exposure and all the credit that I get of being this modern day samurai would not be happening. And all these people say, you know, that fight was inspiring to them. They wouldn't have that inspiration.
I definitely agree, and I think it is tough that they have to make those concessions to get the sport to where it is. I know a lot of people want to see like the Pride, the soccer kicks to a down opponent, or from a down position, just as far as the purity of the sport goes. But yeah, it definitely makes sense, like you're saying, that they have those rules in place. Now, in 2008, you were in the film Red Belt. How did that opportunity to be in that come about?
Rico Ciparelli from Real American Wrestling, he's the one who contacted me by email, and he asked me if I wanted to be a part of a Hollywood production, and I'm not an actor. I usually would say no to these offers, but I asked him, I wouldn't mind taking a look at it. He sent me the script, and when I saw the script, it didn't seem like I had to do a lot of quote-unquote acting. You know, I had to do an interview, or I had to get filmed in a locker room. You know, things that I had to do was things that I didn't really need to become someone other than myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so I took the opportunity, and damn, it was once in a lifetime opportunity, I think. I mean, I learned, it was so interesting. I mean, there's so much that goes into a Hollywood movie. You appreciate movies more if you're ever on the set, you know?
Yeah, I could only imagine. So would that be something if there was another opportunity coming up, would you do it again?
Oh yeah, of course.
Awesome. Now, in 2011, when there was the tragic hurricane and tsunami in Japan, you were very active in the relief effort. How is the recovery process going in Japan right now?
Okay, I'm actually currently on my 24th relief trip up north. I've done 24 already. The situation has been changing. The first time I went up was 2 weeks after the tsunami hit. There were still dead bodies laying around. There was absolutely no people in there. The only thing we saw was army trucks here and there. No police, no restricted areas, no Red Cross. There was nothing. That part was a real drastic change on people, getting back on their feet, finding out their family's still alive. They moved into evacuation centers where they lived in cardboard boxes. From that transition, we're in the current position now where they are now in temporary housing. The situation there is as dire as it was because a lot of people aren't being funded by the government. They're supplied a place to live. Red Cross has supplied them with 5 essentials: TV, microwave, washing machine, refrigerator, and rice cooker. So other than that, everyday expenses, they got to take care of themselves, which a lot of these people, there's like hundreds of thousands of people displaced in towns that have been running and have already had jobs filled for the last 100 years. And you're not going to find 100,000 new jobs. So a lot of these people, not only are they displaced in a town that's already been active, some of them are 70, 80 years old, and they're not going to be able to find a job. So this relief effort that I'm doing is just bringing the basic essentials to these people: water, tissue, toothbrushes, toothpaste, those kind of stuff.
Wow, you're definitely doing an awesome thing over there, Enson, and we definitely wish the best for the recovery effort in Japan. Now, but before we let you go, one thing I had seen in an interview I thought was really great. You had said that to stand up for yourself and what is right is what creates character. Where does that positive line of thinking coming from?
That's a part of my the samurai spirit, the Yamashi samurai spirit that I kind of gauge my life around. I want to live that Yamato Damashi way, and it's about doing what's right, no matter what the consequences are. If you believe it's right, to a point, I am very extreme on that. I will do what I believe is right, even if it meant death.
Yeah. That's definitely a noble line of thought, and we really appreciate your time today, and so we really appreciate you coming on. We wish the best for you and your gyms, and if you have any sponsors you'd like to shout out, please feel free and let everybody know how they can follow you on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, yeah, just look me up on Facebook. Other than that, I'm now currently making bracelets that help fund my movement up north. So you buy a bracelet, you're actually helping the people up north. It's destinyforever.com. Go check it out. It's kind of like my bracelet homepage and my homepage. I have a blog there that I post on. There's pictures. Go check it out. destinyforever.com.
We'll post a link to that on our site as well, Enson. It's been a real pleasure. I was really excited about having you on the show because I do remember watching the old school days, as they say, and I was really looking forward to speaking to you. So thank you very much for giving us your time today, Enson.
Thank you guys doing for the sport that made my life, MMA. So anytime you guys need any assistance, any help, you guys want to call anytime.
Sorry, Enson, you broke up a little bit at the end.
Yeah, you guys are helping the sport big. So anytime you guys need help from me, anything I can do for you guys, don't feel free to contact me anytime.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Enson. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Enson.
All right, man.
Bye.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed both those interviews. Next week then lined up, we were supposed to speak to Bubba McDaniel this week, and unfortunately we had technical issues, so I'm going to try and reschedule that and hopefully get Bubba back on next week. I've been in talks with James Head, who is set to face Nick Catone. Depending on when you've listened to this, he's either faced him already or he's due to face him. As recording, he hasn't faced him yet. But hopefully that'll be a victory interview. Hopefully he gets the win and we'll be speaking to him about that. And I'm going to try and get Spencer Hewitt on next week as well. Spencer Hewitt has just recently signed with Cage Warriors, so try and get him on. He's a friend of the show. I've had him on a few times before. We'll try and get him on and find out how he's feeling about the deal with Cage Warriors. So thank you for listening.